Hey, it's Kyle Meredith, host of the Kyle Meredith With podcast, presented by WFPK at WFPK.org and the Consequence Podcast Network. It's a series that puts the spotlight on iconic musicians and actors, inviting them to drop by and talk about their latest projects, whether it's albums, TV shows, films, or beyond.
I'm going to say something I don't want to say. Here it goes. Without Spinal Tap, there is no Tenacious D.
Whoa! Man! We get great stories and the biggest scoops from people like Garbage's Shirley Manson, the 1975's Matty Healy, Jack Black and Kyle Gass of Tenacious D, Maya Hawke, Kiefer Sutherland, and everyone in between. New episodes arrive every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so it's a great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover some new ones. You can find Kyle Meredith With on the Consequence Podcast Network or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to Two Chunks and a Hunk. My name is Jordan Wonders, and this week I'm your chunk.
I'm Doge, and what's it gonna be? Hunk man?
And I'm Carter, and oh, you're an Avenger? Have I chunked you before?
Doge, tell them why you're the hunk so we can get our beef out in the open.
Well,
that's what Carter wants.
Not beef.
That's what Carter wants.
Not beef, but a pepperoni.
Yes, fight. Why pepperoni?
My wife and I have a tradition on Valentine's Day of making a homemade pizza because we like to eat at home on Valentine's Day because we feel like it's maybe too serious of a relationship to go out to a restaurant. We'd like to keep it pretty casual and be married for 6 or 7 years before we go out. We've only been married 5.5, so
we actually
we're not ready to take that big step yet.
But it's 7.
You did.
So it was our 7th.
Oh, okay. See, yeah, you're in that milestone. Was it hard? Where did you go? Was it hard to like get a table and stuff?
Actually, sorry, we did not go out for Valentine's Day. Our anniversary's the 13th.
So you lied to me.
It's the day before we went out for anniversary. Sorry.
So we have a tradition of making dinner at home. We make pizza most years, like homemade pizzas. And typically we do it Lunchable style, where we just buy the pre-made crust and then put the sauce and the cheese and the toppings and the pizza accoutrement on top of it. But this year, we actually just saw some pizza dough on sale at Aldi, where we shop for groceries.
Aldi's. Wow.
We are Aldi's, yeah. Aldi's nuts. But we saw some pizza dough on sale. And so we bought the it's the kind of like you spin on your finger like a cartoon and stuff like that. We didn't do that, but we did make this incredible pizza, like assembled it all on a floured cutting board so that we could remove it, put the sauce, the cheese, the toppings. We did pepperoni, red onions, spinach, and bacon, which was a great choice. Like shredded and cubed our own mozzarella, like really did it just like a Mama Doge used to make.
Mama Doge.
And it was
I've always
super
wondered
good.
if Dozier was Italian. It's good to know.
It is, yeah. It's super Italian, yeah. It's our tradition of making frozen pizza.
House of Doji.
But yeah, so we made it on this cutting board. It did get stuck on the cutting board. We actually didn't know how to get it off because it was so fully loaded that we couldn't pick it up without ripping the bottom of the dough. So we actually ended up folding our pizza into a little crunch wrap, basically, and getting some spatulas underneath it, lifting it up, putting it on the pizza stone, and then folding it back out and spreading the toppings back out before.
That's fun.
We baked that puppy in the oven, and it was super good. It was very good. And I'm very proud of the work that we did together on Valentine's Day. Look, I'll show you guys. I have a picture of this pizza. I'll show it to you, boys.
Show me dins.
And we'll leave all this silence in while I search for the...
Yeah.
I was hoping so.
There's been so many photos since then. Hey, that looks
Look
good.
at that. Look at that pizza pie.
It looks very good.
The pizza pie. That's hunky. That's pretty hunky.
It was good, man. It was good. I'm at the hunk because we make the pizza in our home kitchen.
In my family, there's a running joke about my sister that it only takes one time for something to become a tradition in her brain. And once something is a tradition, she can't escape it. So if one Christmas we're just like, oh, we've been making this cool coffee drink, we'll make you one. Then the next year she'll be like, okay, make sure you bring all the stuff to make that coffee drink.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, she's always been like that my whole life. It's very sweet in its own sort of weird way, but it's just like you do one thing one time. You know, if we go on a family trip to Florida and we stop at some random restaurant just because we're all hungry, the next time we go, she's like, okay.
Every time we go to Florida, we're
Yep.
stopping at this restaurant.
Yep. One time becomes tradition. I bring that up because that's the way that Doge treats anything I've ever been a hunk for on this podcast.
Interesting.
Anytime I've been a hunk one time for something, Doge is like, we all know you put chips in sandwiches, ding dong. I've never brought it up. I've never brought it up even one time since then. Doge has brought it up literally every time we've talked about it since then.
Is it jealousy?
It is. It's jealousy. I can confirm. And
I wish I ruined my sandwiches.
That's our. I know for a fact. I know for a fact you don't think chips ruin sandwiches.
This is the reaction I was looking for.
I know for a fact you don't think chips ruin sandwiches. So anyway, just so you listeners know, that's what kind of petty, disgusting, hateful stuff I deal with.
So we all know that, like, I'm the chef of our show. Like, if there was a chef of our show, it's me. It's me. I live my life in the galley waiting to serve food to my beautiful crewmates. I made chili one time, and Jordan, and it's like, this is an award-winning chili. I have won award.
We've
not
all
awards, but I have won award.
Stage. Everybody on
for
this
this
podcast
chili.
Outside of
chili
church?
cook-off. No. Nope.
Oh.
Nope. I do have
This is
award-winning guacamole, but that's beside the point.
Outside of church?
Mhm.
Where?
Like Callie's work?
Doesn't count. Not your work. But I made this
The
chili.
guac was my work, though.
I made this chili, and Jordan served it to himself over, was it lime Takis?
It was hot Cheetos.
That's worse.
But then tell him the second part of the story, Doge. You're leaving out. This is Doge's MO with everything. Tell him the second half of the story.
It was good.
No, that's not what you said.
No.
That's not what you said.
It wasn't better. Oh my God, I didn't say it was better.
Yes, you did.
Not a chance.
Swear to God.
Not a chance.
You look
It
like
was
you were
good because
grabbing
hot
some-
Cheetos are good.
Oh my God.
And you could only taste the hot Cheetos.
This revisionist history BS is insane. I have two witnesses to you crumbling hot Cheetos and going, I hate that this is better.
It's not better.
Okay.
It definitely wasn't better.
Okay.
The
This
moment
guy.
Jordan said it was better, it looked like Doge was looking back through history. He it looked like you were grabbing for your phone or like on your computer.
Hang on,
Like,
let me
no,
go
I
get-
can prove it. I wrote it
Let me
down.
go get my 2018 journal.
I have two witnesses, to that moment that will confirm what I said. It's 100% a chance.
Wow.
Not a
It is
chance. Not a
100%.
chance.
I had a-
See, that's the difference between me and Doge. I have the courage to stand up for what I believe.
Why are you
in.
doing Italian hand?
Because I'm
This is
following
my culture.
He's
I made pizza 2 days ago.
I have the courage to stand up for what I believe in.
Oh man. I had a little post-workout half sandwich that came out of nowhere for me. And it was just
Talk us
peanut
through it.
butter and Fritos.
Ooh, a little crunchy, a little
Ooh.
salty.
Say it's worth a try out there if y'all want to. Pretty easy.
That does sound pretty good.
You would be down my
you bake it
throat
at
if I just brought
325.
that up. You bake it. Put it in the air fryer for 16 and a half minutes at 450.
Pretty good. Make sure the bread
turns
is
into a little-
frozen the day before.
Charcoal.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, the peanut
What are we
butter
even doing
has
this
simply
podcast?
evaporated. I guess
This,
argue
mostly.
about food. Actually, that's not that far off if we're being honest.
Like probably 1 out of every 3 episodes.
But today, what we're gonna do is discuss a movie about ants.
Let's do it.
Of course, this movie is called. Wait, I gotta get the full title because it's a friggin' diz. This movie's called Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And I'm gonna need a synopsis.
When I saw that Ant-Man was in the word Quantumania,
Blew your mind?
my mind was blown.
Mm.
Yeah, that's right.
It's in the middle of the word Quantumania.
The only thing that,
That was like-
separates it is you.
Dang. Plot.
Wow.
This week's IMDb synopsis was written by Wells Noah-89768. And read by Michael Douglas. When Scott Lang and Hope Van Dyne, along with Hope's parents, Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne, and Scott's daughter Cassie, are accidentally sent to the quantum realm, they soon find themselves exploring the realm, interacting with strange new creatures.
His voice has even gotten higher, I noticed watching this movie. Like, I feel like as he ages, his voice jumps through the octave. He's like a step and a half up from where he used to be.
Ever higher. Michael Douglas.
Okay. I went in with, I'm not going to say rock bottom expectations, but pretty low expectations for this one.
Yeah.
And so I think I want to try something this episode, if that's okay with my boys. Let's save all spoiler discussion. Let's do a brief A segment with no spoilers, and then we'll go to shout announcements. We'll come back with some spoilers. So if you haven't watched this movie,
so you don't have to leave.
Yeah,
you can keep listening.
You can keep listening.
Stay on inside here.
I'll say this. I went in with really low expectations, and compared to those expectations, I enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I thought it was fun. I think that it is a better journey through crazy stacking universes and worlds than Multiverse of Madness. Not a high bar, but still.
What I was thinking the whole time I was watching this. I was like, this is an alternate script for the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like there are two movies that started with the same idea.
For sure.
Just like, here's two ways that story idea could have played out.
Yeah, for sure. I think we'll obviously save Super Pumps and Super Dumps for the spoiler full portion of the episode. But I will say, if you're going to see it and you want something to keep your eyes open for, Jonathan Majors functionally puts the back half of this movie on his back.
Yeah.
It's really impressive.
Yeah.
I
would say so too. Yeah. And we'll talk a little bit more about this clearly is, not clearly, but one of the main functions of this installment into the Marvel franchise. We're in phase 5.
This is the first
movie of phase 5.
Yeah, and it should be no surprise because really it feels like a lot of the promo art really heavily is featuring Kang. I think there's an acknowledgement that hey, this is a vessel for a nice full introduction. And I was thinking back that really technically Loki kind of ends up being our introduction to Kang, and it was interesting and how long it took us to get really Kang again. But with Thanos, I was thinking back on, because to me, I think I'm still at the point to where Kang is not more interesting than Thanos ended up being. And that's,
I agree.
With the fairness of knowing that we have that full arc for him, right? But didn't we not get really a lot of Thanos until an Avengers movie? Right? Was it until Infinity War?
Yes.
We had all of these,
we had a lot of
on
Thanos
his throne. Someone's whispering in his purple ear at the time, and it's just like,
he was a major player in Guardians of the Galaxy 2014, which was 4 years before Avengers Infinity War.
Semi, right? But it's mostly Ronan. Like, it's Ronan.
It is, but he had he had the equivalent of his, I think He Who Remains in Loki, the variant of Kang that we see at the end there. Thanos had that equivalent moment, that equivalent amount of influence and screen time in a story.
That's true.
In 2014.
Wait, can you help me? What did he do in Guardians? I don't remember him in Guardians 1 at all for some reason.
Guardians, he was the one sending Ronan after the Guardians because they had the purple
That's
Infinity
right.
Stone,
so he was
Power
mostly
Stone.
just on his throne, giving orders, right?
He was, but he would we would cut back to him the same way we did to the Emperor in Star Wars Episode 5.
Yeah,
he has the line, "I will bathe the starways in their blood," which is one of the coolest
Pretty
lines
great line.
in a movie. But yeah, that's what he's up to in 2014 Guardians.
Okay, that makes sense. So then I would say that we've now gotten about an equivalent involvement, right? Essentially.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Maybe even a hair more.
Maybe even a little more Kang.
Yeah, that's why I started to think about the comparison. Obviously, when we only have two big bads that have ever really been in the Marvel universe, especially looking ahead to all the other things, it's we've got a double Kang series, a 2-part Kang. There's just a lot of Kang. And so to have this much of him, it was nice to have a payoff there because the trailer seemed to have so much of him. Again, we have our classic slow intro, and this really isn't a spoiler, but it was we're not going to see him for a while. Everybody's referring to this person. It's okay, that's the big deal. But I think it was interesting to have so much of him and very clearly only one of our heroes' stories. This is an Ant-Man movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't think we ever really had that this much with Thanos until we had all the Avengers.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
I'm just saying I'm excited that it seems we have quite the runway of Jonathan Majors as Kang to really get to know him. Because we've talked about how important it is for our antagonist to know their intentions and their motivations pretty intimately.
Yeah.
I think this was a great stepping stone for that.
Can we give like a who is this for? Like, who do we think this movie really appeals to, and maybe who should go in with tempered expectations instead?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because I think that as Marvel expands and sort of diversifies the type of stories that it's telling and the way that it's telling those stories, I don't think there is an answer anymore for this is for Marvel fans, because I think even the fan base is pretty split on what they want from these things.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't feel like you can just be like, if you like Marvel, you will like this. I don't know that that's, there's certainly a top 10% of just like diehards that will just love anything Marvel puts out. And then obviously this is for you because it's Marvel.
Yeah.
But short of that, who is this for, and who maybe is it not as much for? Who maybe should consider seeing it with some lowered expectations?
So Marvel is kind of doing dual escalating threats at the moment.
Yeah.
Right? Because we've got all the multiverse stuff, and then we've got the stuff with Val, with Elaine, that is kind of going
that supposed
nowhere.
To be Jerry?
It actually was perfectly Jerry.
Wow. It just sounded like you were trying not to cough.
Obviously, you don't know very much about Jeremy Seinfeld himself, but that's what he sounds like. But we've got those two things kind of going right now. And I think that this is not for people who are invested in any way into the Elaine storyline.
Sure. Yeah. I think that's fair.
Because I think that we've got the kind of, I don't know, I think that we, at least for me, as I've tried to think about it, that feels like a major misstep to split it into two escalating storylines so that things like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier are building to, and Wakanda Forever are building toward this like Earth-centric Thunderbolts, Elaine making bootleg government Avengers, which is not as immediately interesting as this multiverse stuff.
Yeah.
Because to me, I think, I don't know, the interesting thing about this is to note that this is the beginning of phase 5. So phase 4 has wrapped as a whole. And so phase 4 was everything in between Ant-Man, Quantumania, and Avengers Endgame, which was like kind of a lot of nothing. There wasn't really a ton going on. Like if we're to be here on the other side of phase 4, the necessary viewing from phase 4 to understand phase 5 so far is only Loki a little bit. Like you could make an argument that Loki is necessary, but this movie could have come out immediately after Avengers Endgame with exactly the same information contained in it. Like there's nothing that happened in phase 4 that so far seems important.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree. And I think that Loki will be proven necessary viewing, but has not necessarily yet been.
Yeah. Have you, so we talk about the Elaine Thunderbolts. What's her name? Is it Van Dyne? What is her?
Val.
Wasp?
Her name is Val.
Val.
Elaine is named Val.
Okay, Val. I thought her last name was some also kind of like Russian or something. I can't remember. But so with Val, does that not feel like what Hydra was in the middle of the Infinity War?
No, because Hydra was specifically going after one of the Infinity Stones. That was like their goal. So they tied in. Yeah, that's where I struggle with the split rising threats, is because it's hard for me to care about mean Captain America existing when a universe-altering threat exists. Like
when Kang is coming.
Yeah, right. It's weird. I think that I've been thinking about this a lot. If you are fatigued with Marvel right now, this movie, I would say, is not for you because it is, in fact, more of the same. Like, I'm not talking growing fatigued. Like, if you're fully like, call me when it gets interesting again, this movie I don't think is for you because it is, in fact, more of the same. But if you are headed that direction, but still hoping that it turns it around, this is a promising, tonally, this movie is a promising entry.
It feels like they've got their blinker on. They're like, hey, we're about to turn. We're about to do something.
100%. That's
and
a
this is
great
the first time this is the first time I feel like Marvel has been, hey, we're about to do something. And like actually believe they'll follow through on it since probably 2019's Endgame.
Sure.
Yeah. I think the Ant-Man storyline has low-key been...
Nice.
Definitely didn't. Has low-key been pretty integral into the overarching like narrative of the Avengers story. And so it felt like the appropriate place too. It felt like the appropriate movie to kind of move the story along and have us be like, hey, we're about to turn.
Well, I think
it was in the right setting.
I would break up the Marvel movies and heroes into like A, B, and C tier. And I think that they are almost invariably, with the exception of maybe Multiverse of Madness within the last 3 years, this hero and the movie are in the same tier. I would say that Doctor Strange is the exception because he's a B tier hero with a C tier movie. But for me, this is how it breaks down. There used to be a bunch of A tier heroes, a bunch. There's now one. And this is just based on the information presented to us and the importance of what happens in their movies. Spider-Man is now the only A tier hero that Marvel has in a movie anymore. I don't think Thor is in the A tier anymore. The things he is doing are not as interesting or important to the entire world, and the movies aren't as good. So I think you've got a bunch of B, a bunch of C, and Ant-Man is firmly a C tier hero in a C tier movie. And going in with that expectation, it's a pretty good C tier movie, I think. And then you have Eternals, which is like D tier everything, and the movie was fine, but I don't think will ever come back in any meaningful way whatsoever.
Right.
Which is why I would put it in
But
D tier.
don't worry, they got Harry Styles. Wasn't that cool?
So we think, I'm assuming back when you said there were lots of A tier.
Yeah.
Almost all of the actual Avengers were A tier, like when we had our first Avengers movie. So I guess both who are still around, Hulk and Thor, have fallen to B.
I think so.
Okay. Yeah. I could agree with that. You know, when Chelsea and I left the movie, we were talking about how, you know, one of the things that I can't remember the last time, and it really does feel like Black Panther is an outlier for things that are sensitive to the environment outside of just the movie itself too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember the last time there was applause in a Marvel movie.
I know.
And I think a lot of that was
No Way Home
around,
probably, I think is the the last time I remember it.
Yeah.
That's probably
People
it.
clapped for the Spider-Mans.
Yeah, this is coming right into, though, the conversation around who do we really care about?
Right.
Right.
You know, there were moments, there's always moments, especially when we have a Marvel character that's been around for a while, that we're like, I don't know. And you look at the environment outside of it, I can never help but do that. And I'm thinking about Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly, and I'm like, I don't know, this could be their last. Maybe they're dying.
Yeah, who knows?
I'm not sure.
Who knows?
Right.
And it's not really moving the dial for me at all in terms of like, man, this would suck. That would be sad. So we were like, who's left that we're really bummed about? And it really felt like really the only A tier. It was like Tony Parker. I think Tony Parker is one of the only... Tony Parker? Holy shite. It happened, dude. Please don't lose this. This is a great point. Tony Parker used to play point guard for the San Antonio Spurs.
I actually know who Tony Parker is.
Wow. Peter Parker is the only Avengers person that I feel like collectively culture, whether you're Marvel or not, and maybe that's also a measurement, is you don't really have to be a huge Marvel fan to love Tom Holland as Peter Parker. And if we lose him, this is massive. And by the way, Marvel, we aren't strong enough to lose him yet.
No.
Right? No. There will come a day where it's like, he's got to move on. The kid's 40. No one really believes this anymore. But it's like right now, you're in big trouble. So that's how you know who your A person is, your A hero.
Yeah.
They do have a story and a general script outline for Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4. It is in pre-production right now. Although it is not on their massive release slate. So actually the new Disney CEO, new Bob, who replaced old Bob, I think last year, maybe beginning of this
That's
year.
my favorite Who song.
He's actually old Bob, right? Old Bob is back. Yeah.
Old Bob is now new Bob, and the new Bob became the old Bob, and the Ouroboros eats its tail, and life goes ever on and on. But he so Disney's in a little bit of a pickle. They've just fired 7,000 employees because they are losing money. And so he has, in a shareholders call, he mentioned specifically Marvel, Pixar, and Star Wars, and saying our large IPs that we have, we are pumping the brakes on a lot of stuff that we've actually announced, and we're going to focus on quality rather than quantity, because the bottom line is, he said the bottom line is these things are incredibly expensive to produce, and if people don't like them and they don't want to go see the next one, we're just throwing money away. And so there's big the Marvel. I think the Marvel news out of that is that there's only 2 Marvel shows this year, which there have been like 6 every year since Disney Plus launched.
Thumbs up for this decision.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a great call. There's only 2 Marvel shows this year. It's Secret Wars and or Secret Invasion, and then I think maybe Loki season 2. There's one more show this year.
What a great 2 as well.
Yes,
fantastic.
Which is exactly the direction they need to go.
Quality over quantity.
But I think, I don't know, man, just like taking the outside world perspective into it. So the next Avengers movies that are slated to release are back-to-back years, Avengers Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars. It's important to note that Secret War is a different story in comics than Secret Wars is. Secret War is a secret team of government Avengers, of S.H.I.E.L.D. sponsored Avengers, basically, performing clandestine secret missions, which I really hope we don't do that, but that could be where Val's whole thing is leading.
That's my guess.
The more interesting thing is to do Secret Wars, which Secret Wars was a continuity-wide reset, similar to DC's Crisis on Infinite Earths kind of vibe. DC's numerous crises.
On this
a continuity-wide reset in a continuity-wide reset in 2015, which combined the Ultimate Universe and the main 616 universe, so that there's one Marvel universe moving forward. Secret Wars is a story about different universes colliding with each other, and Doctor Doom essentially makes this patchwork world called Battle World that has pieces of these different universes in it. It's stupid, but it's a comic book, so that's why it's stupid. But I think if we're going... Exactly. But we can go the incursions route with Secret Wars, and that makes a lot of sense with the incursion that we saw at the end of Doctor Strange. Some things we'll talk about in the spoiler-filled half of this episode of the podcast. And then the one before that is called Kang Dynasty. So this is huge, seems to be this enormous multiversal threat, rumored to bring back the Spider-Mans that were in No Way Home, rumored to bring in, this could be how Deadpool gets into the Marvel Universe, rumored to bring back... even the old Tim Story Fantastic Four movies, anybody who's ever Marveled before is rumored to come back here. Does it feel like a waste if they bring back the characters that have killed the A-tier characters? Or does it feel like it's not a big threat unless they bring back those characters?
It's both. They have written themselves firmly into a corner.
It is both, yeah. I think you would have some pretty polarizing opinions if we see Robert Downey Jr. back as Iron Man.
They have written themselves to a point where they either have to erase the emotional payoff of everything they've done or make everybody be like, if they can bring everybody back, why wouldn't they bring back the best ones?
Right.
And so they need to find a way to write why that can't happen.
Yeah. And here's the encouraging thing. Marvel's done that before. They have found ways to write in pretty good enough explanations as to why some things are a certain way.
Yeah.
And I'll take that.
Yep, I agree.
But yeah, I think if there are people who are close to or are exhausted with the MCU, but there was a love for the MCU at some point, right? There was your first 2 or 3 phases you were so in, and these are memorable moments, core memories. One thing to be excited about the future, and hopefully this will still be handled carefully and genuinely, is they now have the Fantastic Four and X-Men. So it's this, our mutants and the Fantastic Four are en route. And that's something that we haven't been able to say for a while. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities for a shot in the arm. And I think there's some that exist now after watching Ant-Man and having a confirmation as to the character of Kang. I think that's probably the biggest reason that we're looking forward. I don't know if we've been able to say that in a long time. I think I look ahead, and I was already looking at Guardians 3. Really excited for that. I really have no idea how much it's even going to tie in to the overall
Yeah.
Storyline,
but we know
a little
that,
bit.
Yeah, I think it definitely needs to. And I think we need to start losing some people.
Yep.
As well.
Yep.
We'll talk about that on the second half.
I have a lot of complicated feelings. This movie gave me a lot of complicated feelings about Phase 4 as a whole.
Now that it's in the rear view,
and
I can assess it.
I want to talk about it, but first, before we get into the spoiler part of the episode, let's take a little break. Head to shout announcement. Welcome to shout announcements. It's the part of the show where we give shout outs.
Did you say welcome with a G?
It's very possible. It's very possible. I speak
welcome.
I speak fluent Swedish. It's very possible that some of it snuck in.
Did you see IKEA's new Gwelkommen selection? It's wonderful. It's very
a lot
good.
of Gwelkom
It's made of meatballs.
It's great. Want to give a quick shout out to you, our dear listeners. Because we love.
Oh, I thought you meant the Penn Badgley show.
Yeah, a huge fan of the creepy Penn Badgley show. No, silly. I fell off that show hard in the first season.
Never watched a single second of it, but I did see a funny tweet where it said Penn Badgley was named after the things they saw on the delivery doctor.
I like Penn Badgley, by the way. I think he's
I do too.
Very charming and fun.
Heard about any of this.
People been rumoring Penn for Mr. Fantastic, which would be a great cast.
I think I would like that. Yeah, I think he's a good actor.
I'd like that.
I think he's charming. Yeah. His TikTok is funny. I think he's a cool dude, but You is not. It doesn't do it. It jumped the shark in the first season of its own show. It's crazy.
That's who that is.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Guys, next week we're going to be doing a movie, the next movie in Marvel's Phase 5.
It's crazy that they followed it up this quickly.
Wish.
Called Cocaine Bear.
Oh my God.
I think Cocaine Bear is an Avenger though.
Cocaine Bear, 100%. So you're gonna want to listen to that one.
You're gonna want to listen.
You know what,
I don't
guys?
know why I have just this strange confidence that like no matter how good this movie is, it'll be a good podcast about a movie.
Of course, we're gonna love it. It's because it's got Violent Night energy. It's just like, really? That's the movie? I do think a Cocaine Bear would be more effective as an Avenger than, say, Bucky Barnes the Winter Soldier. I do think a bear with cocaine in his brain and blood would probably be more powerful than the Winter Soldier.
Could be that. Could be.
Him and Santa Claus. Get him and Santa Claus in the Avengers, and I'm down.
I'm into it. Speaking of things more powerful than a Winter Soldier, but perhaps not as powerful as a bear with cocaine in its brain and its blood, Creed 3 is coming out, and Jonathan Majors looks extremely powerful in these trailers that we've been seeing.
True. The man is huge.
And, we just couldn't find a way to fit that into our release calendar this year, so we're going to do Creed 3 over on our Patreon bonus episode feed. For $3 a month, you can support us on Patreon. You get access to our upcoming Creed 3 episode, as well as several, dozens even, of other bonus episodes that we've recorded over the years. Fun things like a Goofy movie, not fun things like Parasite, but still a fun time to talk about. Not fun things like Nomadland, but still a fun time to talk about. Actually, that may have been main feed. I don't remember. Anyway, you can support us on Patreon.
Twice.
Geely. Yeah, we got another Geely on there.
Double Geely over there, dude.
We got a whole Back to the Future series over there. We got Cars 3 over there. So just a lot of stuff nobody was asking for, but we recorded anyway. And if you want to support us further, you can upgrade to the $5 membership tier, which is actually called Too Official, Too Chunky, because of a series that we have a certain degree of fondness for. And
50 Shades.
50 Shades of Chunky. And that $5 tier gives you access to our Discord, where you can chat with us.
Two Chunks 3'd is the third tier. It's coming soon.
I switched to Boost Mobile and got a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone. Want to know the best part?
It was free?
Nope.
The fact that it's on America's largest 5G networks?
Nope. It's the ding.
Oh yeah, love the ding.
Right? It's all about the ding. It's the dingarooski, the dingaroner, the ring-a-ding-ding.
Unleash your power to save with Boost. Get a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone when you switch. Boost Mobile. Unleash your power.
And the ding.
Limited time offer. New customers only. Available on select networks. 5G not available everywhere. One device per line. Tax excluded. Additional restrictions apply. See your local Boost Mobile store for details.
So I've got thoughts about Phase 4 viewed through the lens of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
We should say, here there be spoilers.
Yeah, it's
This is
spoiler
the edge
time.
of the map. Spoilers abound.
You better start believing in spirit.
Abandon all hope, ye who enter here.
I want to say first, starting off, that nothing I'm about to say is an indictment on Catherine Newton or anybody else playing a young hero character. It's not about them as actors. It's not about them as people. It's got nothing to do with them. I'm not upset with them for being here. What I am realizing...
This is only a franchise for old boys. We have no young boys.
No. I'm cool with all the young people coming in. We have spent 3 years eulogizing the Infinity Saga. That's all we have done with Phase 4. All we have done with Phase 4 is eulogize the Infinity Saga. Every movie is something about an old hero.
I saved the world. Now what?
Yep. That's all it is, dude. And then it's like, let's bring in a cool young one. The fact that Cassie's here, no problem. The fact that Cassie, day one as a superhero, can fight Kang the Conqueror is ridiculous. The fact that any of these people can fight Kang the Conqueror is ridiculous. What a crazy movie to include. Ant-Man, his suit doesn't make him stronger.
Yeah. The kind of the magicness of Pym particles starts to break down for me because it's never been great or consistent.
No, but at least
because the whole the thought, if he's exponentially stronger when he's large, then he should be exponentially weaker when he's small. But the first Ant-Man explains that your mass doesn't change, just the size changes. That's why a tiny guy can punch and it feels like a bullet because a tiny, half-ounce dude is punching with all the strength of a 180-pound muscle man. Yeah. But then if he's giant, it would be like a 200-story dude with all the strength of a 180-pound muscle man, which means he can't pick up planes or pick up these weird quantum ships. So it's always sort of been broken, but it's noticeably broken in this when just because he's big means he can fight against Kang the Conqueror.
Not even big. Let's forget that. He's regular sized when they fist fight over the portal at the end of this movie. Kang the Conqueror sweeps that fight 10 times out of 10, doesn't even have to try. And Ant-Man gives him a run for his money in a fist fight. That's insane. Why would you do
that? There's quite a bit of...
the fist fight was funny.
But the fact that Cassie comes in and is like just as capable as Hope and Scott, and this isn't, I'm not saying because she's young, I'm saying because she's never done this. All she's done is...
Well, we're to understand that she has done stuff like this. I mean, obviously not fought Kang the Conqueror.
All she's done is used this to get out of getting arrested at a protest and other random little things like that, escapes. He has to teach her how to punch earlier in this movie.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
She has never fought before.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I think that's the amount of care that they're handling all these young storylines with. That's why I don't like it. Because it feels like they want to have their cake and eat it too and be like, the old hero's washed up, time for the youngin'. But also the old hero's not washed up, so keep caring.
That's tough. I thought Scott should have died.
I think Scott and Hope should have stayed stuck in the quantum realm.
Yeah, I do too. That was weird. So it's so funny because you're watching this and obviously Paul Rudd is playing Ant-Man the whole time.
Sure.
But you really realize that Paul Rudd is playing Ant-Man when Jonathan Majors only has his fisticuffs left to fight against only Paul's fisticuffs.
Yeah.
He's they've both lost suit powers. It's like, this should not even be.
Might as well have been
this
slap
is the most
fight
unrealistic thing about Quantumania. So my super...
Is that Paul Rudd fights?
Yeah.
That Paul Rudd fights Jonathan Majors, certified beef boy.
Who in less than a month, we're going to see another certified beef boy, Adonis Creed, be a little afraid to fight because he's such a beef boy.
Yep.
Just that's such uneven matchups that are
Kang's powers don't come from his suit. So Kang still has powers when he's fighting regular guy Scott Lang at the end of this
movie.
There
was a fair amount of that where it's if at the end of Star Wars somebody had tried to just punch Darth Vader.
Right.
No, he can do way more than just this.
Yes.
There were many times that Kang, I guess, stopped time, but it looked a lot like using the Force.
Yeah.
To just stop incoming projectiles or when he froze Janet. Why is he not doing that to these ants?
Right.
Why is I don't know. There's just such a an imbalance. Kang is only as capable as the script allows him to be for any given scene. And those capabilities are greatly diminished when we need our heroes to win.
Yep. I'm gonna super dump.
I think Carter was about to, but I interrupted
sorry, I
him
missed it.
big time.
Yeah. Y'all are seeing just red right now, which is great. But I'm excited to be a part of this podcast. I am super dumping that essentially what happened is it felt like we were in the Matrix, but everyone got Matrix powers but Kang, who should be. So it's like we entered Quantumania, and now all of the Ant fam are the most capable of navigating Quantumania, whether they've really been there or not. And
Right.
It felt like with all of this, there was just so many outs. There was like, I just always knew that they were going to be okay. And that's not really how an introduction of the next big bad should have felt.
Yeah.
It was everything. It was just the fact that like Kang, who is living in every single multiverse all at once and experiencing all of that, really needs someone's help to be able to get out of Quantumania, which really, though, we find out at the end, all we had to do was Cassie had to enter in the formula from Earth to go ahead and like, it was go ahead and bring Hope and Scott back.
Ridiculous.
The fact that, Pym took a while to get there because the ants happened to go to a place to where they got to live for 1,000 years and come back and create an army to defeat Kang, who now can't fight ants. But yeah, it's basically a lot of the things that y'all have already said. It sucked to take the power away from him when the most compelling thing about this entire movie was when Kang was flexing his power.
Yeah.
When Kang was unstoppable, I think the movie should absolutely have ended with Kang escaping the quantum realm.
And the entire Ant fam is stuck.
Yeah.
Yep. When you take away a power from someone who's being clearly delivered as the next Thanos, when you take away his power now, you've already lost the next time he shows power in some other form or some iterations. Like, well, I guess the quantum realm just really sucked that out of him. Or it's also like, well, now is he even, I know he's a threat. I do know he's a threat, but he doesn't feel like as much of a threat if you can just get a big enough army of bodies against him.
Right.
Yep. I saw what it took to kill Thanos twice, right? Like I saw the amount of people to show up for that.
Yep.
And with the weapon that he had, which the dynamic is interesting there because, Thanos is a Titan, so he's strong without the gauntlet. But when he gets the gauntlet, game over.
Yep.
He's completely unstoppable.
So we did a weird thing with Kang where it was like, when he doesn't have his suit, he's just like a strong boy now.
Yep.
I don't know. Because I love the moments when he's just blipping people out of existence.
Yeah, dude.
Yes.
When he's shooting them and they're just disappearing.
I think that's the win with Thanos. Why Thanos is a compelling and a believable universe-wide threat is because we do not ever see Thanos actually lose until the very end when he is blipped out of existence by Iron Man.
Yep.
Because he does not lose in Guardians of the Galaxy. He definitely does not lose in Infinity War. And even when his head is chopped off in Endgame, he still won.
Yep.
We killed him, but so what? He won still.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine if the first time we saw him, he had been punched into submission by a firm C-tier hero. Think, oh, okay. Well, I guess he's not that big of a threat. The Avengers sure are going to waste him, huh?
Yeah.
Right now, legitimately, with what we were given from Kang in this movie, I feel like Hela could beat him.
Yep.
Yeah.
So why is Hela not the big bad?
Right.
in
Right.
Marvel Phase 5?
Even with thousands of Kangs, if it's just thousands of people that can get wasted by somebody with the strength of a regular human man,
great. 10,000 ants. We got them.
done.
Yeah.
It's over. Yeah. Oh, we already know how to do this. We'll just get a bunch of ants. It's easy. There's 10,000 ants in your house right now. Just grab them.
Yep.
It's just, yeah. No, I agree, Carter. That is not my super dump specifically. There was one thing that bothered me more than anything else in this entire movie.
Ooh.
Drove
Tell me of it.
crazy.
Tell me
It's
of it.
something we've talked about before with Marvel, but it was at its peak worst in this movie. My super dump. Stop taking helmets off. Oh my God.
Yeah.
There were scenes where the helmet was gone just to deliver a line and then back on again.
Yeah.
It was at an
don't need that.
all-time. Kang's face, they just at any given point, it was like, it's the blue thing. No, it's regular now. It's the blue thing. No, it's regular now. Oh, Ant-Man's got his helmet on. No, he's got to take it off to say a funny quip and then put it back on. Oh, Cassie's got her helmet on. She's got to take it. Like, you can talk through your helmets. At one
Power
point,
Rangers never had to do it. You've already given us different colors of all the suits. Cass
Exactly.
is purple. Hope is yellow.
at one point,
Scott
the
is red.
helmets come
We don't
off in the middle of a mist that was following an attack. If any time you're going to leave your helmet on, it's when you don't know what it is you're breathing at that moment. And they just popped it
Right.
off to have a quick conversation.
There's only been I would argue there's only been one time in Marvel where something like that actually worked and made it cooler, is seeing Tony from the inside of his helmet.
Yes, correct.
Yep.
That's cool. It's like, oh my gosh, look at all these
I
cool
actually
things
think
that are going
that's
on.
the single best. I mean, outside of hiring RDJ, that's the single best creative decision in the original Iron Man movie, is being able to show an actor's face without having them take off their superhero costume.
Yep.
It is just
That's not to say that Tony wasn't taking, he was doing this too. Like later on, it would just be like, he would take this off so that you could see him. And
Yeah.
if you're post
So they could
fight and you
CG
want to have
Robert
a
Downey Jr.'s
conversation,
floating head.
yeah, that was always bad. But if it's post fight and you want to have a conversation, sure, pop it off. But mid fight, the on off. I mean,
are you mad at agents? Maybe do we not know that it's just publicity?
Could be a
schemes?
contractual thing.
I think what I'm mad at is Marvel not. If it's agents, then I'm mad at Marvel not putting their foot down and being like, no, this makes no sense. It's just, I mean, in the final fight scene between Kang's blue, like not mask, but almost like energy thing that he would do where his face turned blue. I guess it's some sort of protective shield. And then Hope, Cassie, and Scott, I bet you close to 50 on and offs combined in the final fight scene. And it just got to the point where it's like, when you do that, it is clearly not for the world. It is for us watching. And I hate that.
How did you feel about
crazy.
MODOK's helmet on off all the time?
It was funny every single time, and I'm never sad about it. Corey Stoll's face, ginormous, was hilarious.
Gross.
Yeah, dude, that's an outlier for sure. That I don't care. The whole thing, we get to laugh at it. Like MODOK was so fun.
Yes, MODOK
I
was
didn't know MODOK was going to be in this movie.
I didn't either.
I had remembered reading that rumor and then seeing, I mean, you saw him fully armored in the trailer with his like little face shield down and everything.
I just didn't remember it, I guess. I love that it was Corey Stoll. He's got a fantastic voice. I'm glad he's in this movie. I think he's great. His whole thing was so good. He could in mid-sentence have his mask come on and off over and over again. I wouldn't have bothered me at all. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Everybody's reaction to him every time. Darren?
Avenger. Dude.
Yeah.
So fun.
So yeah, I don't want to just take a poo-poo on this movie from my perspective because like stuff, I think it's hilarious. I think this movie was genuinely funny.
Well, let me super dump and then we can be positive.
Yeah.
We can be all gushy.
Let's do it.
One of the most annoying things in media to me is I don't have time to explain, just trust me.
Yeah.
You can say that line one time. You can say it once. But Janet spends the first 40 minutes of this movie saying that. And it's like, while you're flying your Stingray, why don't you tell them about what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you tell them about any of this? Her entire like motivation, her vibe did not work for me in any way. Nope. I think it works way better if this was the original plan when we rescued Janet from the quantum realm and she comes back and she's like, I don't know, like unable to speak or like in some like degree of visible trauma where like she's non-responsive, catatonic, like whatever, like something has messed her up so bad in the quantum realm. And then we get down here and figure out what it is. That works way better than her being totally fine and like seemingly not bothered at all by Kang the Conqueror until the script needs her to be bothered by Kang the Conqueror. And the script needs her to keep that a secret so that they can kill Bill Murray and then get on his ship and then she can tell them what happened in the middle of the movie. That to me is absolutely insane writing. I can't believe that was the decision for like, how we...
I've been out of the quantum realm for at least a year, right? We could say she's been out for at least a year at this point.
Yeah.
You know
realistically. No. And the fact that she never was like, while I was in there, hey, there's somebody you should keep your eyes on.
I don't think that she was blipped and they rescued her from the quantum realm right before... Well, maybe she was... No, she was blipped, wasn't she?
I don't remember.
That's why Scott was trapped in the quantum realm. But they rescued her regardless in Ant-Man and the Wasp. So it's been at least a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think our what do you call it before the title even shows up?
Like a cold open kind of?
Yeah, I think our cold open could have been the whole relationship between Kang and Janet, right? Would that have been fine?
Yeah.
And she like has this, she touches the, and she can kind of see everything that he's done in the past. I don't know.
Yeah, because I think...
So what are you going to do? Win. Cool. Let's roll Quantumania. I don't know.
Yeah, it is a really admirable decision. And I think it works to build the sense of dread before we really even reveal Kang.
Mm-hmm.
Like we take our time leading up to him, which I think is great. But having Janet be actively withholding information from the rest of our characters is pretty silly to me. I think there's a better way around that.
Yeah, especially because she supposedly led like a 30-year rebellion.
Led a revolution for 30 years against Kang.
Kang. It feels like she would at least be like, hey, I did some pretty messed up stuff when I was in the quantum realm. I don't want to talk about all of it, but there is a guy you should probably know about, because if anybody could get out of there, it's him, and he's going to be a real problem if he gets out. Like,
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah. Even if we rescue her and she's like, is he following? And that's it.
Yep.
Like, I don't know, man. It's just this, it wasn't the plan at the time that we rescued her. And so there's a lot of like, we have to sort of reset Janet and turn her into something different.
Sure.
Just to make this movie work.
Sure. Yeah. I want to talk about positive things about this movie. I think there was actually quite a bit. I think it was genuinely super funny. What was the Holes guy? What was his name?
Veb?
Beb?
Yeah. Veb. That was my guy, David Dastmalchian.
Yes, it was.
He's on my box office ball team. He was not credited in this movie on IMDb before its release, but I drafted him based on year-old interviews that he gave where he said, I'm not playing Kurt, the same character that I played in the first 2 Ant-Man movies. I'm playing a new character called Veb. And he was in this movie and he was credited, which means I get to add this movie.
Was hysterical.
Very funny.
Veb running with his arms flailing above him on the bridge is the hardest I've heard Callie laugh in like 2 weeks. She was like desperately catching her breath. Him being so excited to finally have a hole was very good.
Yeah.
I think this movie introduced way too many characters, way too many factions, way too many people to care about. He was the best part of all of those introductions.
Yeah.
I couldn't bring myself to care about anything that happened to the revolutionaries except for Veb.
I liked William Jackson Harper as the telepath guy.
Well, of course. Of course.
I always like William Jackson Harper. I'm a little bummed because there was a rumor, or at least speculation.
Reed.
Kang is a descendant of Reed Richards from the far, 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 far future. So there was speculation that William Jackson Harper was going to play the MCU's Reed Richards.
Would have been awesome.
Which would have been really, really fun. William Jackson Harper as Mr. Fantastic would have been
a great choice.
But he was fine here. We'll never, ever see him again. So good on you, William. Get the Marvel bag and then go do stuff that is maybe a little more challenging as an actor, a little more fulfilling.
Yeah, I think he's very talented. I think he was great here. I guess it's time for Super Pumps. We're running out of time here.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that we can all
time
knock
is
it
a
out.
cage, though, Jordan.
Sure. I have a feeling we can probably knock it out in one go, is my guess. But does anybody want to go first? I don't mind going first.
Jonathan Majors is my super pump.
It's Jonathan Majors. This is the first time I've been excited about the future of Marvel since No Way Home.
Let me tell you, it's not because of Ant-Man. It's because of Jonathan Majors.
Correct.
Yeah.
The scene, specifically the stadium full of Kangs at the end, makes me really excited to see Jonathan Majors go full-blown kooky off the walls.
The Council of Kangs in the post-credit scene was almost my super pump. So this is a little different than the comics. The Council of Kangs in the comics is actually one being who is breaking time to be there all at once. This is Kang. Kang is a singular being who has basically convened at this point in time from across different points in time. So he took over ancient Egypt, and that's the Pharaoh Kang. Yeah. He's in the far future as an Avenger, Iron Lad, which is like the Kang with no eyebrows, probably. Mm-hmm. And then the oldest Kang is Immortus, who is kind of retired from trying to take over timelines and is mostly concerned with like making sure time still flows.
Getting everybody orange slices.
Sort of exactly. So this looks to be all the variants of Kang. So this is what He Who Remains was talking about in Loki when he was like, you'll meet my variants kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's all these people.
Yeah. And I just think that even if, what's the Kang Avenger, Kang Dynasty?
Kang Dynasty.
If the army that he brings to fight the Avengers is just 1,000 Kangs, sign me up.
That's pretty cool.
Sign me up for a good Kang, an anti-hero Kang, a bad Kang, a crazy Kang, a mute Kang, a tall Kang, a short Kang. Like, give me all of it. I want all of it.
Yep.
Jonathan Majors single-handedly made me excited for more Jonathan Majors moving forward in the MCU.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think
But I'm excited for the MCU for the same reason I'm excited for Creed 3.
It's just Jonathan Majors on screen.
It's just because it's Jonathan Majors.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's enough for me right now, though, man. I'll be honest. I haven't been excited about the future of the MCU in a little bit, so that's enough for me.
Yeah.
A little glimmer
A
of hope.
villain that we know is going to stick around is a big deal.
But is he though?
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's
Kang
definitely a
Dynasty's
big deal
what,
to
2
me.
years from now?
Yeah.
That's
think
not
so.
that
like
long.
that there's a future plan
Yes,
for him.
yes,
You know
for
what
sure.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because even when we had stuff about Scarlet Witch, it's like she'll be here. I have no idea whose side she's on, and that can be exhausting.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be appropriate. Sometimes
I think they should really consider building. Obviously, it's not going to happen with Kang unless it is happening and we just don't know it yet. But I really think they should consider with somebody like a Kang. How cool would it be if every Marvel individual movie from here until Kang Dynasty, the villain was a variant of Kang, so that we could build up his repertoire, build up the fear of Kang, build up how intense he is.
I love it.
And watch real threats get stomped by him.
Yeah. I would love it.
It's the
Guardians
Jonathan
Guardians
Majors-
3 has a perfect opportunity to do this because Gamora herself could be an incursion point since she's from a different timeline existing here in the main timeline.
There you go. Jonathan Majors is also my super pump. It's like
You just had to wait and be special.
no. It's like going to Chewy's and you're like, well, yes, it's the jalapeno ranch. It's always going to be like
Yeah.
the jalapeno
Yeah,
ranch
sure.
is like the best part. I want to try and be exotic and say something different. Almost a super pump for me was just the quantum realm.
Same.
I thought it was
Yeah.
really fun how everything
Super
was
cool.
just so organic. And I loved the creatures. I don't think it's easy to pull something off of like some legitimate awe and wonder in new worlds. Because everybody's going back into the cantina on Tatooine. Every single time you introduce a bunch of aliens we've never seen before, everybody's thinking George Lucas. And
The
for you to
quantum
be able to
realm
do something-
really did look Star Wars prequel-y.
It did.
Yeah, it was so cool. I enjoyed
Yeah.
it. It was such a mix of like prosthetic and CGI and even the broccoli face. Like I was down for all of that. I
same.
was ready to see
That
and
guy
soak
looks like
in,
broccoli.
I thought they did a really good job with that.
I
But
agree.
yeah, Jonathan Majors is my super pump. I think though, I still, in terms of new villains, I'm still more of a Huerta fan than I am of a Jonathan Majors fan, to be honest.
Okay.
I think I'm more excited about Namor again. I just thought he was more compelling. And almost my super dump. Well, I guess it was technically my super dump. I kind of feel a little bit let down because Jonathan Majors was clearly going to be and ended up being the best thing about this movie. And we could have done better. Like he could have been introduced better. And that's why for me, as a whole, narratively, Tino Huerta as Namor is a better villain in the MCU right now.
More
'Cause I think he was
integrated into
delivered
the
well.
story, certainly.
I think he was also way less beatable. We couldn't beat
sure.
him, really.
Yeah.
And
You know?
Black Panther and the nation of Wakanda far stronger than Ant-Man and his crew, and they couldn't beat Namor.
Yeah.
So right now, Namor feels like more of a threat. But my guess is I would bet some money that we never see or hear from Namor again.
No way.
No. You think we will?
He's our first mutant introduction. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
Not
definitely
even
see
one
him
time.
again. Oh, wow. I put monies on this.
Dude, Marvel, especially recently, is infamous for introducing cool stuff that never comes back. I don't believe they have any plan for Namor again, other than the word mutant.
Definitely coming back.
I would love that. I would love that.
Yeah. Yeah. That to say, though, I mean, we've got just the rawness of Jonathan Majors as Kang is great.
Yeah.
And it's got to be really tough he's still keeping some kind of through line, right? There's something that we can always expect from any iteration of Kang in how he acts, how he carries himself. And that's got to be tough because you can't just go full wild. You can't just be incredibly chaotic. And
Seemed
that's
like a
just your
couple
thing
of
if we
them
don't
in the
know who you are.
stadium at the end were.
Oh, well, those were fun.
It seemed like a couple of those were a little wild.
There's always going to be at least one Kang to hold another wild Kang's hand. That is Jonathan Majors saying, like, hey, I'm still in control of
I
how
think
we
so.
should perceive.
Every
the
wild Kang needs a
persona.
calm Kang. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold me back, you know?
One true Kang.
Yeah, man.
Return of the Kang.
Also, the Loki stinger at the end was particularly exciting because that is
Really exciting.
that is definitely footage from season 2, not filmed just as a stinger. I mean,
Right.
that is for sure just a clip of season 2 of Loki, and that is
It is. Yeah.
exceptionally exciting to me.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think it was, the movie was just put together so well in terms of giving hype back to the Marvel universe, in my opinion.
Yes. Yeah.
Because of here's the big bad, and oh my gosh, this is the best thing about the future in general. Can't wait.
Yep.
He's going to be someone who is just a get out of jail free card because he just happens to be there. We haven't had that in forever. And then to finally give us the dynamic that is our two leads from Loki back.
Yes.
Which, by the way, I'm
Yeah.
missing a third. can't wait until she's
I
back.
know.
But
Yeah.
to see them again made me want to watch Loki, and Marvel hasn't done something like that in a
Right.
bit.
Agreed.
Right.
Made me
It's
wanna
because
retroactively go back and watch something else.
Agreed.
Loki to me is the only thing from Phase 4 that actually took the events of Avengers Endgame and said, here's what's next in the story.
Yep.
Like what's next in the overarching story. Everything else was like, this happened in Endgame, better save the world real quick. And it's like Loki is like, this happened in Endgame, and now this even worse thing is coming.
As a result of Endgame, here's what's
As a result
coming
of
next.
Endgame.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. In retrospect,
organization-
Loki is one of the only things that worked about Phase 4 to me.
I think it's the only thing you need to watch from Phase 4 before you watch Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah. An organization can't move forward in like its own mission if every single event is an alumni event.
Yeah.
What is the point? We're just here to just wax poetically about what used to happen and talk about how things used to be. When do we get to say like, what are we now? Like,
Yeah.
what do we become? That's what
Yeah.
that Phase 4 felt
Yep.
like.
Phase
I don't
4
think
is a
it makes
wash.
it a full waste.
No, I think it does.
I think there's probably, I think it does right now in terms of like recency bias, but I bet 10 years down the road, which that's not what Marvel was hoping, but I bet
No.
10 years down the road, there's going to be a few nuggets that you're like, man, it just needed time. It still is not going to be super pivotal. I'm not saying it's pivotal to
Sure.
the story, but you're like, this was a good movie. This is a good standalone. I can
Sure.
see myself going back to Multiverse of Madness and being like, that's fun, dude. There's definitely an environment.
Not for
where
me.
you're
Not
with
for me,
somebody
at
that you're
least.
like, I'll go watch it.
Not for me, at
Yeah.
least. I think in 10 years' time, you're doing a Marvel rewatch or a first time Marvel watch with somebody. I think you finish Endgame and you go, we're going to watch No Way Home because it rules. We're going to watch Far From Home and No Way Home because they rule. And then we're going to watch Loki because it matters. And we're going to skip to Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. And you can just skip 2.5 years of film releases because they are utterly pointless.
Because I think a lot of the stuff that's come in the meantime can be summed up as Shang-Chi exists now. Miss Marvel exists now. And like, that's it. It's a one sentence summary of something that I went into expecting like this is going to move the narrative forward. And really it's just the Hulk's Bruce Banner now. You know, it's like
Right.
Not a lot of actual storytelling
100%.
of the meta story, which, you know, I think that's the problem with something like this, with the perpetual hype machine of superhero movies, is that they cannot matter on their own anymore. It can't be a good movie by itself anymore, or we're bored with it, which is maybe a problem with us. Because I think Shang-Chi was a fine movie by itself, but like art matters more than just does it advance this brand synergy thing forward. It matters if it like, is this a good movie by itself?
Well, if the
That's why
MCU was a collection of standalone films about superheroes, then we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But the fact of the matter is, it is a TV series that has 2-hour-long episodes.
Yep. And DC they've wished for 2 decades they could have this problem.
Yep.
I do want to make it clear, like the timeline that I'm talking about is not being like, let's go back through all of Marvel and pick up a few of these pieces from Phase 4. I'm just saying, fortunately, enough of these were well enough made movies that I think they'll scratch an itch someday. It's not going to be a part of going through the entire thing.
Yeah.
Because I was like, there's going to be times that I'll watch Shang-Chi again, 100%.
Yeah, for sure. I've already watched it a second time since we watched
but
it.
I have to turn it off and be like, really didn't have much to do with
Just
this.
a fun movie.
But
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Particularly about Shang-Chi and Wakanda Forever. Those are movies that I could see myself revisiting just because I want to watch that movie, not because I'm absorbed in the universe. Yeah, I agree.
Almost treat it like a rewatch of The Hobbit or something where it's like, hey, this is like not good, but it's worth it for Martin Freeman, or it's worth it for Benedict Cumberbatch's Smaug. Like there are elements that are great. Thor and Oakenshield's great, but the overall movie maybe doesn't do much for me.
Right. I agree with that. It is time to rate this movie using the scientific cinema scale, which is perfect and as follows. The best thing we could ever say about a movie is own it, don't lend it, buy that poster.
You got it. You got there.
The next best thing is buy it. That's followed by rent it and then stream it. After that is forget it. And last, but certainly least, the worst thing we could ever say about a movie. God hath forsaken us. I'm streaming it. It's a high stream, almost a rent. I do think it's worth watching. If you're bought into the MCU, it's worth watching. If you aren't, it is not. This is not like an end game where it's like, go catch up because this is appointment
You're
viewing.
missing out.
Yeah, if you're not catch up, if you're not caught up or already interested in the MCU, this is not worth your time. But if you are, it's the first little glimmer of future hope that I've had in a while, so I like it. Stream.
Yeah, I think I'm I'm going to rent this. I know I'm going to rent this. And I think contextually, it's like, even if someone's not a big Marvel fan, if I found out like a couple weeks from now, you could go grab that for like $6 or $7, I'd tell them, yeah, you definitely do that. You know, I if it's still in theaters at the same time, I would probably encourage someone lean towards a rent. But I think too, contextually, just because of Jonathan, this is a special season for Jonathan Majors right now.
For real.
And this is his, this will be his most popular contribution to like this part of his career.
His most viewed.
There's going to be plenty of, definitely his most viewed. I bet with just how well-rounded he is, there's going to be other things that are a big deal. Also, I want to say the best thing that this podcast can do to try and lead the way for that is say, I think we can compare him to maybe Denzel once and then just be like, maybe it's best for him to not say he's the next Denzel Washington. I think
Jonathan Majors.
Yeah, dude, he brings his own panache
Yeah.
in a way that it's like when Daniel Craig took over James Bond over Sean Connery.
I didn't
It's
know
like
it was
this, but
possible to
here's-
leave your panache alone. I thought that it just came with you wherever you went. Most people, it's just
can.
attached, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I
It's
think
just
a lot of people just end up hauling panache wherever they go. So
got to get there quick.
I'm going to also rent this, and I think it's worth it for Jonathan Majors. It could eventually
It's worth
become
it for the world. I think the Quantum Realm is worth
It's
it.
fun.
Yeah, that's cool. It's cool. It's a rent, if only to vote with your wallet of like, Marvel, please keep moving this direction. Don't do any weird treading water stuff where it's like we just have to get a movie out, or else people will forget that Chris Hemsworth is Thor and he's muscly. Like, we're not going to forget. Just do a good one.
Yeah. If you don't have
and
a
they
story to
did-
tell, don't make a movie.
They did a pretty good one. I liked this. I really enjoyed it. I went in with low expectations, and my very low bar for Marvel was cleared, and I'm excited about the future of Marvel, which I haven't been in quite a while. So it's pretty good.
And it's actually funny. I think it's been a while since a
It is
Marvel
funny.
movie was like fully funny,
Yeah.
and it worked. And this one worked. It was legitimately funny. Laughed out loud several times.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, we didn't even talk the like a million Scots making a tower like
Yeah,
ants do.
Great.
That was
Yeah.
almost my super.
It
It
was
was
really cool.
the probability vortex or
Yeah.
whatever they called it.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Really loved that scene.
That was cool.
Loved the one Baskin Robbins Scott. It made me happy. It was very
Yeah.
funny. So yeah, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania is a movie. And now you've heard us talk about it. And I think that qualifies as a podcast episode. Next week,
Legally.
Cocaine Bear.
Yep.
A bear with cocaine in its system.
Yay.
Is it horror? Is it action? Is it comedy? Yes. Not really sure. Very excited about it though. I can tell you that.
I'm real excited for Cocaine Bear, actually.
More
guys.
excited for Cocaine Bear than I was for this. And that's a guarantee. It's going to be awesome.
More like a Barentee.
Tune in next week for that. Also, coming at you early.
That's a Barentee.
Coming at you early March. We're going to do Creed 3 on Patreon. Carter finally watched the first two Creed movies. Doge's going to watch them here pretty soon. Those movies
Actually,
rule.
I'm just going to watch the third one. I'm going to
Good.
see if I can figure it out
Good,
as I
just
go.
piece it together. Those movies rule. I'm sure that Creed 3 will be no different, and I think it will rule. Plus more Jonathan Majors. So what more could you want?
I heard Michael B. Jordan's going to tag Paul Rudd in for that final fight. I just be like, can
Makes
you help
sense
me
because he's
punch
so
him?
strong.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk bad about Mr. Rudd. I really like Mr. Rudd.
No, I love
and
Paul
all the
Rudd.
flavors he brings.
Paul Rudd was great in this.
31 specifically. A little Baskin Robbins humor for you guys at home. Tune in, jump on Patreon, get Creed 3. Tune in next week for Cocaine Bear. We're in a good time. And then after Cocaine Bear, we got some fun stuff cooking. So
We can announce it right now.
Touch that dial. Okay, yeah, sure.
After Cocaine Bear, we're going to take a journey through the John Wickiverse.
The Wickiverse.
Yay.
Leading up to the release of John Wick 4. Carter, have you seen any John Wicks?
I've never been there.
Carter's never seen a John Wick.
Those, have you seen all three?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Big time.
It's a good time. You're in for a real treat, Carter. It's gonna be awesome.
I would love to watch at least one of these together.
Yeah.
It doesn't really feel like my kind of thing, but we'll see.
Yeah. No, it's definitely not anything you'd be interested in for sure. Get ready. It's 2023 is coming up all two chunks. I'll tell you that right now.
That is
To
very true.
end
That is
today's
very
episode,
true.
I'd like for each of us to say our name and what level of the quantum realm could you be found? For Two Chunks and Hunk, I'm Jordan, and they'd have to go one level smaller than they went at the very end. I would be in my own little quantum realm, and everything is a couch except for people. It's just couches as far as the eye can see. Couches and people. And everybody has Game Boy colors, but it's modded Game Boy colors with a backlight and infinite battery. And you can just lay around on a couch and play Game Boy.
It's also known as a dorm room.
Yes. Yeah. It's the Dormiverse.
The Dormiverse.
I'm Doge, and I think my realm, well, I would leave my realm. I think I would start in the quantum realm, but I would do such a good job, I guess, such a good performance, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly why it would happen, but I would get in a hot air balloon and ascend to the heaviside layer at the very end of it.
Leave it to Doge to have a merit-based quantum realm.
Wait, no, okay. Why did that cat go to the heaviside layer? What did they do?
Lived a good and perfect life.
See, I would live a good and perfect life in the quantum realm and ascend to the heaviside layer.
Amazing. I'm Carter, and it feels like before we get to the quantum realm, there is a realm that has like germs, right?
Yeah, gotta be.
It's supposed to be like what we could see in a microscope.
Gotta be.
A germiverse, yeah.
It feels like, so I'm in the germiverse, and I'm working.
And everybody's like, good to talk, good to see you.
Good, welcome to the germiverse.
Welcome to the germiverse.
Would you like some hosen?
Hosen? I would be working with my partner in solving the crimes. His name is Osmosis Jones.
Yeah!
And we would be working together to solve this germs and to solve sickness.
Ooh, doggy.
Just me and my white blood cell buddy.
Who's blue, weirdly. Anyway,
yeah.
We'll see you next week for another installment. As we end every show, another installment of Two Chunks and also One Hunk.
We've got a brand new installment on the way.
Good night.